so it doesn't give me any feedback. Okay, so design options, what are they used to? They are used to explore multiple design scenarios and multiple design options. Investigate different ideas around a portion of the building. It could be a room layout, it could be a finishes, it could be an exterior windows. It's mostly utilized to present options to client and help them decide on what is the preferred method of addressing a design problem. We can also use design options to compare data and schedules, costs, volumes of materials between different design scenarios. You can also use design options for more specific purposes. For example, alternate furniture layouts. You can use it for exploring shading device options in an exterior facade, roof slope, or window selections. Just like the phasing, we should understand some of the terminology behind design options. We have the main model, which is the part of the model that it's not defined using design options. That's our working main option, main model. Within design options, we build an option set, which is a collection of options that address a design scenario or design problem. You can have as many option sets as you want, and they could be localized to different areas in the building. For example, you can have an option set for lobby layout at the ground level, design option for classroom furniture layout in a different level. You can have multiple design options living at the same time. Design options is one of the solutions to design problems. The option sets are made of options, and so you can have as many options as you want inside a set. Inside Revit, there are primary options and secondary options. The primary options is the preferred design options of the entire set. And it's important because the primary option establishes a closer relationship with the objects in the main model. For example, when it comes to wall joints, the primary option and the elements in the main model, they're going to neatly merge and connect very cleanly. Secondary options are alternative options to the primary. And the secondary option does not establish these closer relationships. And so that's one of the drawbacks of design options. If, for example, you extend a wall from secondary options to a main model, that wall is not going to merge neatly. Only the primary option establish these relationships. And then we have active options. When we enable design options, we need to watch what is our active option. Option is what is the space in which we're building the design alternate. And you can pick between the different options in an option set. And then when it comes to translate design options into documentation, you have to use visibility graphics to apply a design options into a view. And so design options are dedicated to a view, and there's a view specific setting that is applied via visibility graphic overrides. here is our workflow. I think some of you already know this, so sorry if this is redundant for my power users. But the main model, it provides the general context, and this is the active project. You decide what areas you want to develop and investigate as design problems. Could be lobby layout, it could be a furniture layout. And then we create and name an option set. After creating an option set, we start editing a primary option. This is the preferred options that will be presented to the client. Then we add secondary options. And you can have as many secondary options as you want without the need of creating an additional model. You can always switch secondary options into primary options. And then you apply an option as a view property in the construction document. And so you decide which views need to receive which option. And once the client has made their mind about what options to move forward, it's a good idea to save this file as a backup and remove the design options that are not needed because they are taking additional space in the central file. And so Revit provides a way to bind or to accept the primary design options as the final one. And then the rest of the secondary options will be deleted or removed. All right, so let's jump into Revit and then we'll recap with some limitations. So I see more people connected. There's 14 of us today. Welcome for those who just log in. We are going to open the data sets from last that we downloaded last time. So I'm gonna copy paste the link on the chat panel. If you already downloaded this in the last class, you're set to go. But inside the folder that I asked you to download, there's a file called existing. It's in Revit 2022. For those, if you open this file, it's going to ask you to upgrade, and that's fine. You upgrade this to 2023. Let's look at the process of creating a very simple tenant improvement project using design options. So this is an office, and it's going to undergo a couple of renovations, a stage over time. And so assuming that this is an as-built that you receive from a client, all these as-built reflect the status of a previous job. So when you select this, you're going to see that even though these are existing walls, they are associated with a phase that's called new construction. And so all these walls are actually going to be existing walls. And so there is an exercise that needs to happen to allocate all this geometry into an existing phase. And so, so remember what I was telling you that phase, it's a global setting, but it's applied into the view as an instance property of a view. And that the phase status, it's a property of an object. So when you select an object in Revit and you scroll down to the bottom of the properties, you're going to see a phase group called phasing, and it has two parameters: when an object is created and when an object is demolished. And so there is all these objects appear in a new construction. And if you're hired to do a tenant improvement renovation, we need to fix this. We need to make sure that all the existing objects are actually under the existing and under an existing one. And so open this file. Let me know if you need more time. If everybody has this file open, then go to the Manage tab and go to the phasing dialog box, which lists the existing and the new construction. And so all the objects in the project I right now assign to the new construction. But what I want to do is to make sure that all these objects are assigned to an existing phase. Somebody had a question? No? Real good. All right, so one way of doing this is grabbing an element and assign it to the existing phase, which, as you notice, that it is automatically the view filter turn it into gray. But you know, you're going to start clicking all these objects, and it's a lot of clicks, a lot of operations. And so instead of doing this, I'm going to do something quick and faster. And so I am going to merge. Phases can be created in this dialog box, and you can insert new phases using this before and after button. But phases can also be merged. And so one thing that you can do is select row number 2, which is the new construction, and merge it with the previous. And in a very single step, everything that is new construction, anything that is tagged new construction in this model is automatically going to move into the existing phase. So let's do that in a single step. So select row number 2. Again, you go Manage tab, Phases, pick row number 2, and combine with the previous. And then hit OK. And now when you select any object here, all these objects are now part of the existing phase. And this was a tip that allows to very quickly assign all the objects in the project, whether they're visible or not, to assign it to the existing phase. Does that make sense? All right.
Yeah, but quick question.
Mm-hmm.
But the graphics didn't change, right? I mean,
yeah, you see it's gray. I don't know.
Some reason okay, I'll check again.
You know what? The phase filter, it's called a show all.
Show
all. And so show all, which is this filter, will display all the elements in the current all the elements by category. So you were right. They didn't change of color. And so to really apply like an existing one, you have to apply a filter to show previous and new. And this is going to apply the overridden. Actually, show all of no, you have to use the apply show. You need to. Let me work on that later. I'm going to get into the filters in a bit. Well, let's say that this is the existing level. It doesn't have the right line weight, as Sam pointed out. But I will need to make sure that I keep this as the existing conditions. And so right click on the level 1, duplicate it. And this is, I'm going to rename this and call this level 1 dash existing. And in the existing floor plan, things display by category. That means that it's driven by the object styles. Because the phase filter, as I was explaining, show all the elements here are part of the existing phase. So they are basically new objects in that phase, and they are displayed by category. And so There's not a phase filter here that automatically creates gray, apply overridden gray color to the object. So we're going to create a new phase filter, but I'm going to leave that to the very end once we get a hold of what the phase filter does. So let's stick with this right now. This is existing conditions. And so that we understand the ramification of existing elements, let's put some rooms. And you can to do this very quickly. Again, you know this, go to architecture, room, and place a room in every space. This should take you several clicks. These are all existing rooms. I'm not going to name them all. There is something funny about this room. Oh, you see it's not connected. I think this is a pony wall. This is room bounding, and this is room bounding, but the height must be different. So let's look at it in 3D. Oh, no, they look good. Oh, it's right here. It has a negative offset. That's why it's bleeding over. So yeah, it has a base offset those two. So just switch that to 0 on that wall. So that to match the rest of the walls, it needs to have a unconnected height of 10. That was my modeling mistake, so sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to do another room here. And so just to make sure that I don't confuse new rooms with existing rooms, I'm going to select all the rooms here. You can use filters. And so I select only the rooms. And let's change the name to, instead of calling room, let's just call it existing. And it doesn't matter right now that we have different, we have the same tag everywhere. This is just for demo purposes. Now, most of the elements most of the objects in Revit has a property that allows you to report when it's created and when it's demolished. But look at the rooms. When you pick a room in Revit, it doesn't have phase demolish. So rooms cannot disappear in a project. They cannot be deleted using phases. Rooms exist in a single phase, and that's it. If I change the phase associated with this view, then the rooms are going to disappear. I cannot force a room to travel across different phases. And that's one of the major limitations in Revit. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it that this is a perfect workflow, but I'll show you some alternates. So these are existing rooms, existing walls, existing doors, existing exterior walls. We are going now to create a new, any question? All right.
Oh, sorry. Cesar, how did you change all the rooms to say existing? I missed that.
Yeah, so the easy way to do it is to go into the where is it? View, no, manage faces, select the row that says new construction and merge it with the previous. And so everything that was new construction.
No, sorry, that's not what I meant. I meant when you look on my plan, it says room. On your plan, your rooms say existing.
Oh yeah, so do a window selection.
Okay.
And then use the filter tool. Narrow your selection just to the rooms. So clear the checkboxes and using the check none. And then select just the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
There should be 21 rooms or so. And then scroll down into the room property and change the name to existing.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other question?
I have a question. Sorry, Cesar. It's about room separators. Are room separators based on phases as well?
Yeah, rooms don't travel. Room separators don't travel across phases either. And we can test it. You know, I'm going to create a room separation here. And when I select it, look at, oh, actually, you can demolish them. They can be separated. So I take that back. Room separation lines do travel across phases. And so you can make it appear or disappear as a boundary in future phases. But the room that's adjacent to them, that will not travel. Good question. Good. Okay. So let's duplicate the existing view. So right-click, duplicate. And this is gonna become the demolition plan. So I'm gonna rename this view, and this is gonna be level 1, phase 1, on phase 1 dash demolition. So phase 1 is all this here. This is a suite of offices, and we're gonna knock all these walls. And this is called phase 1. And then a few months later, they're gonna do phase 2, which is demolish all this. And this is gonna be phase 2. So I need a demolition plan for phase 1. So what do we do? Right now, this is an existing thing. What I need to do is to set up my phases. And this project is gonna be built in 2 phases. So let's set those phases. Go to the Manage tab. Go to the Phases tool. And we're gonna add 2 more phases. So select row number 1 and then click Insert After. And another one after as well. And you can override the name. Like these phases can be renamed. I'm just gonna leave it as is, phase 1 and phase 2. Does that make sense? But the actual, in a real project, phases are usually named after a deliverable. So you can say this is I don't know, wing 1 or east side or level 1 to 5. The name of the phases really depend on the scope of work. But for this particular project, phase 1 is this, P1, and phase 2 is this, P2. All right, so I have my phases created, but now going back to the concept, a phase it's a property of the view. And so, and then a face also needs to be associated with a face filter. So going back to, I'm going to open the faces properties. What needs to happen here in order to create a demolition plan? A demolition plan needs to show the existing objects to remain, they need to be grayed out. And then the elements to be removed, they need to be dashed. The new objects need to be off, and the temporary objects need to be off. And so when I look at the view filters, there is a filter that is filter number 5 that is called show previews and demo. And what this is saying is that the new elements, the new construction is going to be switched off. The existing elements to remain are going to be overridden. Overridden means that because they are existing, they're going to receive this gray color. The demolished elements, the elements that are going to disappear in this phase, are going to be overridden and per their status. The demolished objects receive this dashed line. And the temporary objects are going to be off. And so to create a demolition plan, I have to apply this filter, show previews and demo. All right, let's work the details here. So on the floor plan, scroll to the very bottom, and the phase needs to be the demolition has started. So the new phase is the phase 1. We are on phase 1, and phase 1 is going to display some demolition. And then on the phase filter, we apply show previews and demo. And notice how everything grays out. And Sam, you were asking about this. If your existing plan, you want to display it gray, this is a way to do it.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens. Where are the rooms? No rooms, because the active room of this view is phase 1. And what I told you earlier is that rooms don't travel across phases, unfortunately. And I don't like this property of Revit, but it's what we have. And so what one thing we could do is just, but we're going to do it once we have the new layout. We can create the new rooms that reflect the new scope of work, and have some creative ways on overlaying the existing rooms on top of the existing one. I'll come back to that one. All right, so how do I start representing something as demolition? So all these walls and these doors are going to get demolished. The slow way of doing this is to select an object and then look at the object properties. And the object properties says when an object is created and when it disappears. And so the active view, the active phase in this view is phase 1. And in phase 1, this object is going to disappear. So you just change the phase demolished to phase 1, and it automatically acquires the graphic override. The graphic override tells me that for existing demolished objects, they apply this line weight override. Notice also that any element that is hosted, it automatically acquires that property as well. So this door, I didn't change manually, but because the host is changed, then the door changed as well. So I can start doing this one by one, but that's a lot of clicks. So the easiest way to do this is let me, what's that called? Alexa. Alexa, cállate. Sorry, I don't know why my Alexa turned on. All right, so the easiest way to make this demolish is to grab the demolish tool. So under the modify tab, under the geometry panel, again, modify tab on the far right end. Click on the demolish tool. The demolish tool is this hammer. And then just hit the elements you want to demolish. And this is far easier and faster than doing it instance by instance. That makes sense? Another thing that's going to happen here is that we're going to swing the direction of these doors. For those of you who do retrofits, that's a typical, sometimes that's a typical, that's part of the scope of work. So you can say, okay, we're going to remove these two doors, but the walls are there to remain. Okay. Any question on how to create a demolition plan? Let's talk now about the rooms. And so the existing rooms are here. And these are like the rooms that are going to get demolished. And then these are the rooms that are existing to remain. So you can grab just the room. This is option one, and there's not a perfect workaround for this, but I'll present you with choices, and you pick your poison. You select these two rooms, you copy to the clipboard, switch to phase one demolition, and then you paste it in the same place. And so now the room is part of this phase. You can tag it, annotate, sorry, architectural tag room. And so this room has exactly the same properties as the other one, except that they are now in a different phase. The other rooms are going to get demolished. Any question here? Okay, so this is phase one demolition plan. Now let's create phase one construction plan. So we're going to duplicate this view, select phase one demolition, right click, and then hit duplicate. Just a regular duplicate. You can do duplicate with detailing also, and you know the difference. Duplicate is just duplicate without annotation. Duplicate with detailing include tags, dimensions, and text notes. So let's do the duplicate with detailing so that I preserve also the tag of the rooms.
How did you get to this screen again?
The right click.
Oh, you click. Okay, select there. I get it.
Select the demolition
Right,
plan.
and then right click and duplicate view. Got it.
Duplicate with detailing.
Duplicate with view.
That duplicate the view specific objects. It's like duplicate plus detail items that are on top of the view. All right, so this copy, this is the demolition duplicate. I'm going to rename this. And this is going to be level one, phase one, construction plan. All right, so to make this construction plan look like a construction plan, I need to apply a different phase filter. So when I scroll down to the properties of the view, look into the phase. extent identity. What's going on here? Here it is, face filter, here it is. So I need to display existing objects to remain, new objects, and I need to switch off the demolition objects. And so when I look at the face filter, those who know faces, this may be redundant, but in the face filter, the face filter that switch off the demolition objects, and display the new objects, it's this one, show previews and new. So what that does mean is that new elements, the new elements in the view are going to display by category. The existing elements are going to be grayed out. The demolished and the temporary objects are going to be switched off. And so this filter 6 is the most appropriate filter for a construction plan. Show previews and new. Does that make sense? And so then I go here and show in the face filter, display show previews and new. And notice how the demo, all the demo information is gone. And I can place my room. So you go architecture room. This is my new room. I'm just gonna call it open office. All right, and now I can start just placing furniture, layouts, design options, etc. I have an office layout that is already prepared for us so that we don't have to do this from scratch. So what I'm going to do now is to insert, bind, and explode, ungroup an office layout that I have already prepared for you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What if you accidentally put the open office room in the wrong level one? Let's just say like you put it in the existing as opposed to the phase 1 construction. Do you just delete the room and then put in a new one?
Good question. So when it comes to rooms, the rooms is one of those databases that remain active in the background of Revit. So even though I delete this, if this was in the wrong place, I'm going to delete it. That room's still in the database in Revit, and I can say okay. Or for example, if it's here in here, and I delete this existing room because it wasn't supposed to be there. It was a new one. When I place a room, and you go architecture room, you don't have to create it anew. Revit has this under this drop down right here. It has the unplaced rooms in the Revit database. So when you look at this, you see the open office. This is the office that I deleted earlier, and I can just retrieve it and place it here if I just needed to relocate it. But notice that I don't see the room from the existing phase because Revit is very specific on only displaying the rooms that were created in this phase. So in this drop-down list, I only see the open office. But if I switch to existing and I go place a room and look at that drop-down list, you see the existing is there, but I don't see the one in the construction plan. And so what that means is that you can always retrieve the room if the room is part of the view phase. Otherwise, you won't be able to move a room from one view to the other. The only thing you can do is maybe copy paste it. Like, for example, I really want this room that is called existing to be in the construction plan. So what I need to do is to place it. Then I need to copy to the clipboard, jump into the construction plan, paste it, control, modify, paste, align to the current view. This is the room. And if you need to go there, then I just drag it and drop it here. Annotate room, no, architecture room tag. This is the only way I can do to move rooms between phases. I have to copy to the clipboard, paste them, and reposition it. Does that make sense? Now I'm going to undo this because I want to take us back to where I was initially. Here is my open office. But the bottom line, if you delete a room, if I delete a room, don't recreate it anew. You can always recapture the unplaced room under the room drop-down list available to you when you place new views. And then you're only going to, this list is only, it's phase specific. So you will be presented with rooms that are specific to the view associated with the room. Okay. Did that clarify that? I don't know who asked that question. I think it was Arlene. No.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. All right. So we want to create a construction plan, and there's an office layout that I already prepared for you, so that we don't spend time doing it manually. So to do that, just go to the. We're going to link it, bind it, and ungroup it. And this is not a good practice. This is just my way of going faster into this exercise. So you go to the Insert tab, Manage Links. In the Manage Links dialog box, click Add, and navigate to the set of files that you downloaded earlier. I'm working in Google Drive, so that you should have this on your local drive. So notice that there's a phase 1 here. This is a layout of furniture. Use origin to origin. Hit open. It's going to upgrade it. Oh, I forgot to upgrade it. Then hit OK. This is a link file in the space. Notice that all of this is new geometry for the project. Includes two storefronts, or two curtain walls. And you probably know this, but links can be made permanently as part of a project if you bind it. So you select a link, you bind it, bind a link. Disable all these choices. I don't want details or levels of grids coming from that project. When a link is binded, then it becomes a group. You want to remove the link from the project. That's okay. We don't need that link anymore. And then this link can be ungrouped. And when you ungroup it, it becomes part of the project and will inherit the phase properties in which it's placed. So I ungroup it, and then every single workstation here inherit the face properties of the view in which they are inserted. So they all these desks are part of the phase one. That makes sense? Any questions?
I'm sorry, how did you ungroup it? I missed you.
Did you bind it?
No. Okay,
Uh,
bind it. Bind link.
Bind it first.
Okay,
You'll be presented with 3 checkboxes.
Right.
Clear them. Hit OK.
okay,
And then select. That's going to create, the link is going to be converted into a group.
right.
And then select the link and ungroup it. This is the link, and then you ungroup it.
It asked me to remove link. That makes sense?
Remove the link, yeah, because this
Yeah.
was just to make us go faster.
Okay.
All right, so I want you to notice one thing. This is a storefront, a curtain wall it's part of the new scope of work. And then if you go back to the demolition, Revit automatically demolish openings in preparation for new construction. And so that's pretty cool on Revit. If you place a new window, I'm going to demonstrate it here again. You don't have to do this, but if in architecture, I add a new window here. This is a new window on phase one. The demolition plan, it's automatically going to show a demo space. If you move this window to a different location, then the demolition plan is going to follow it. So that's pretty cool. Somebody asked me a long time ago, okay, but in the demolition plan, I really want to see the lines here. Like, let me see if I recall. There's a trick to do that, and has to do with the overrides. So if I want to have those horizontals there, you go into the Manage tab, Phases. Then you go to Graphic Overrides. And for the demolished one where it says Pattern, just change the fill pattern to solid white. And then hit OK. Apply. It didn't work. Bases, graphic overrides, demolish, cut pattern. Oh, this is, whoa. There you go. You see that? So again, demolished, click cut pattern. Make the foreground visible, make the pattern solid fill, and make it white. And so that make it easier to define the extent of the demolish area. Tip and trick, Revit tip and trick. All right. Any question? So we are in the construction.
Sorry, I have a question, Caesar. So is that the same trick when it's happening on elevations?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, let's do construction. This is the construction plan. See that, oh, these doors, we were going to flip it, right? So I need to add a new door. So when it comes to like flipping the direction of a door, which sometimes we do, just place a new door. So spacebar flips the direction of the door. Spacebar, there you go. So the demolition plan has, this is a door to be removed, or it's gonna be, you're just gonna flip the direction. And then in the construction plan, you add a new door. It's not gonna be the same door because that door is removed during construction. And that's why it's show dash line. But you add an equivalent in size and it will be displayed where it needs to be. You can take care of those as annotations, as demolition notes. All right, I am not showing ceiling plans here, but it works the same way. Like when it comes to demolish a ceiling, you have to create existing ceilings. And if you're gonna just demolish a portion of that ceiling, you have to split it. You have to create two ceilings. A portion of the ceiling is gonna move, is gonna travel and get demolished on the second floor, on the first phase. There's a portion of that ceiling that's gonna remain, or maybe the whole thing is gonna remove. But it works the same way. Okay, so let's do phase 2. Any question here? Let's do phase 2, and then phase 2 is going to be interesting because we're going to have phase 2 option 1, and we're going to have phase 2 option 2. And so we're starting to introduce here design options. Checking my time here. We're good. Okay, so for phase 2, we need to create a phase 2 demolition plan. So select this view, the level 1, phase 1 construction plan, right click, duplicate view, with detailing, it doesn't matter, duplicate, just duplicate. And then we're gonna rename this, and it's gonna be level 1, phase 1, no, it's gonna be phase 2 dash demolition plan. All right, so I'm going to need your help here. What is the phase that I need to show here? Any taker?
Phase 2.
Fantastic. That's the right answer. I need to switch this to phase 2. And what is the phase filter I need to apply to show demolition? Any taker?
Previous plus demo.
Show previous plus demo. That's correct. That means show everything that is existing to remain and the objects that are going to disappear in the current phase, and switch off the new objects. All right, so right now there's no demo yet, but everything that is existing, it's grayed out. And again, I'm gonna demolish all of this, and the easy way to do that is with the hammer. Go to the Modify tab, grab the hammer with your hands, and click every single wall. And in few clicks, this is your demolition plan.
Cesar, I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, the new stuff that we added for phase 1 is now considered previous in phase 2, correct?
Yes, it's existing to remain, and so that includes the as-built plus the phase 1. Those two things are called existing. The status of those objects are existing.
Okay. Okay.
And that's what, when it says previous, show previous, it means show all the phases before the current one. It could be the as-built, the phase 1, and then plus the demo objects of the current phase.
Yeah. So whatever element is defined by previous, it changes when you change your phase.
That's correct. You got
Okay,
it.
thank yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, what about the rooms? This is a pain in the butt. I don't like that the rooms don't travel, but if I needed to show the rooms of my existing phase one, I have to copy paste them. So I have to go back to the construction plan, select the office and the two existing rooms, copy to the clipboard, go back to phase two, and then paste it, paste in the same place. And then you can tag it, architecture, tag, rooms. Some BIM managers don't like the idea of copy and pasting rooms across phases because when it comes to create schedules, then the whole database has redundant rooms. Well, let's remember that when we create a schedule, we can narrow it by the phase it belongs to. So we're going to do that at the very end.
Were you able to copy also the names of the rooms, or you just have to rename them each time?
No, so the name parameter is populated, and all I did is to tag it. So to tag it all at once, you just go architecture, tag, all not tag, or
Oh, okay, I see.
tag all not tag and select rooms. And hit
Oh,
OK.
okay, I never saw that before. Cool.
This is going to tag all the rooms
Uh-huh.
a single click. Yeah, so this room, when you look at the properties, it's part of phase two. And that's different from this one, even though it has the same size and the same parameters, they belong to different phases. So that's the only way to make a room appear on others. I was saying that some BIM managers don't like the idea of copy pasting rooms across phases. Another alternate, but this is kind of dummy, is just to have leave the room where it belongs in a phase when it was created, and then just make dummy tags. So the tag is actually a generic annotation. It's not a true room tag. But then you have to manually transfer and type all the information, but then you're not creating redundant rooms. And so that is option number two. And then option number three, which is it's not my favorite too, but I'm just putting it out there. I'm going to duplicate this view, the existing one. Sorry, not that way. Duplicate with detailing. This is the existing, and then I'm going to isolate the room and the room tags. Isolate. Select this, select the tag, isolate category, and then apply hide isolate view. This is a view with rooms only, right? And so when I create a sheet, you overlay your construction plan with this view of tags, and then they are like one on top of each other. So so to give you an example, I'm going to create a new sheet. And then in this sheet, I'm going to place phase two demolition, for example, and doesn't have any tag. Well, I had the redundant tag, but then this copy that I tried, I just drop it on top, and it doesn't bring any geometry. It's just displaying the rooms. So you have one on top of each other without having redundant views. Either or, I mean, this three, I just show you three ways of dealing with rooms. Copy paste them, between them, have a dummy tag, or overlay the rooms on top of each other in the sheet. You pick your poison there. Not my favorite one either, because if you move one, the other get defaced. All right, so I'm going to undo that. That was just to show you another tip and trick. Let's see, I'm going to delete this guy. All right, so we were on phase 1 construction plan. We were on phase 2 demolition. We had our lower right corner ready demolished. Let's now create 2 copies. So duplicate this view, and the first one, and do it again, duplicate the view again. So phase 2, the first one, rename it as phase 2 option 1 construction plan. Option 1 construction plan. And then the other one, rename it and call it phase 2 option 2 construction plan. So we are starting to add phasing information here, design options here. Any question before we move into design options? So the right filter for this view has to be show previews and new. This is going to switch off all the demo objects. And the same is for the other one. On option 2 is going to be show previews, and new is going to switch off all the demo objects. All right, so these 2 corners are ready to display design options. All right, so for design options, the process, remember, we create an option set, then we create the primary options, then we create secondary options, and then we add the geometry to the appropriate design options. And so design options, you can go to the view tab, no, the manage tab, design options is right here. You can also enable it at the bottom here. So this icon that you see here is the same icon as this one. 2 ways of doing the same thing. So hit design options, and you start by creating an option set. And by default, it calls it option set 1. You can rename the option set. So click on the option set name and rename it. But this is phase 2, option A, I'm going to call it. Option 1, phase 2, option 1. No. These are sorry. These are just phase 2 options, because the options goes underneath. So these are phase 2 options. And so under phase 2 options, we have option 1. Notice that the first option that you create has the word primary. And what I was telling you, a primary design option create seamless connections with the main model. And that includes like the walls appear clean. You can extend and it will merge. You have the ability to merge geometry, join geometry, extend geometry. You don't have those options with the secondary ones.
So you can only have one option having that.
Yeah, that you can only have one primary option.
Okay.
You can choose which of them becomes the primary later. All right, that's option one, and let's add another one. So new option. These are option sets, but these are new options, and you automatically call it option two. But you can have more, option three, option four. You can also have additional option sets if we were investigating other design problems elsewhere in the project. Okay, so moving forward, we need to mind the option space in which we place objects. In other words, you need to watch this dialog box here, because this is going to indicate to you which is the space in the geometry is going to get displayed. So before I start populating option one, so make option one the active one, I need to make sure that any geometry I create, it's associated with option one. So in this drop-down list, choose option one. As soon as I do that, notice how the main model becomes grayed out. The other thing I need to do is make sure that this view has a dedicated design options associated with that. And in order to do that, you open visibility graphics. So type on the fly VG, and that's going to open visibility graphic overrides.
What? Oh, there. Oh, okay, I got it.
VG.
VG, right.
V as in Victoria.
Yeah.
When design options are enabled in the project, this new tab shows up, the design options. So that only happens when options are enabled. And in the design options tab, you have to, it says automatic. Automatic means that the primary goes there. But if you want to like have no doubt that the option one is associated with that, choose option one from this drop-down list. Apply and hit OK. And then on the other view, in option two, same thing, open visibility graphics, click the design options tab, and replace automatic with option two. And I'm just making sure that I can only display option two in option two and option one in option one. So let's go to option one first. And I have an option already created for you. It's a link file, and we're going to do the same as we did here. We're going to link option one, and we're going to bind it, and then we're going to ungroup it. So go to the Insert tab, Manage Links, and hit the Add. We're going to add a new link. And select option. These are, I named it differently, but option A, option B. A is one and two is B is two. So select option 2A. I'm gonna upgrade it because I wasn't sure you guys were all in 23. That's okay. Hit OK. And I should say something about links. Sometimes link geometry comes from a different party or comes from a different consultant. And faces is something that needs to be consistent between the link and the host model. So when you select a link and you hit the edit type properties, it's always you're going to see that right at the bottom there is a phase mapping. And so these display the faces in your project, and these are the faces from the link. And so in the ideal world, this should be matching. But sometimes your consultants don't pay attention, or it's coming from a different source, or it hasn't been mapped properly. And then you have the ability to individually choose which phase map, which correlate with the active project. Which phase from the link correlate with the phase in the project. And that is a type property of the link. Just want to mention that because sometimes this may or may not match. But anyway, this link here, I'm going to bind it. When you bind it, it makes it part of the project. Make sure that you exclude the attached detail levels and grids. When it's binded, then it becomes a group. This is a warning that there are materials there that are also existing in the current project, and that they and once it's binded, you can remove the link. We don't need the link anymore, but we want to ungroup this, ungroup ungroup the link, and then each of these elements now display the phase 2 parameter. Notice they were created on phase 2, and it's also part of the design option 1 because they were pasted on a view with the active option 1 enabled. And so we need to watch very careful where we place geometry when design options are enabled to make sure that things are placed appropriately. That makes sense? Okay, so the main model, it shows grayed out. And sometimes, you know, by mistake, if you by mistake move an element from the main model into the options, you can always fix it. Let's say, for example, this wall by mistake was placed on option 1. This was actually needed to stay in the main model. So what you do is you select the main model as your active view, as your active phase. Select this wall. Make sure that you can select it. You can select by disabling these exclude options. When this checkbox is enabled, you can select anything on a design option. But if you clear that, then you can actually select it. And when you select it, notice that the design option that is indicating it's option 1. Now, if this needed to be by part of the main model, all you need to do is click this button here, which is a little arrow that says push this element into the design option display there. So if I create this, add it, and then here you have a way to choose which option is going to be part of. It could be part of both options, but if it doesn't need to be in any option, you can clear the both options, and then let me see if it did it. No, I didn't do it. So I think the method I was using allow you to change things between design options, but in order to move it back to the main model, I think you have to copy paste it. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it using the main model. Paste from clipboard. You can place it in the same place, but because it was pasted on the current model, notice how now it becomes part of the main model. So the first instruction that I say is when you want to move things between design options. You can do that using this option. All right, so this is the construction plan option 1. Let's go to construction plan option 2. The first thing you need to do is watch your design options. So in this drop-down list, make sure you identify option 2 as your active design option. Everything you start adding to the model is going to inherit the design option 2. And then you go to let's do the same thing, insert link, manage links, add a link, select option B, which is option 2. It's going to upgrade it. Then we're going to select it. We're going to bind it. We're going to group it. Remove the link. Select it. Bind it. Clear these checkboxes. Then it's going to ask you to remove the link. You can remove the link. And then ungroup it. And then each of these elements, because it was pasted on phase 2, option 2, then the instance properties of each of these objects, it's design option 2, phase 2, as it needs to be. And there you go. I have a complete set. Now, if at the end of this exercise, the client asks you for an as-built, then you should consider removing the design options that were not in use, and then apply the complete or show complete filter. So for the final as-built view that you're going to send to your client, you can duplicate the view. I'm going to call it as-built, rename, and you can say as-built. And the phase filter that you're going to show here, let's assume that they choose option 2 to be the final one. The phase filter is show complete. And show complete, sorry, it should be show all. No, it's show complete. And then I switch this to the main model. There you go. If I click show complete and switch to the main model, everything becomes in the same, everything becomes like by category. And this become like the as-built for the client in the future. Also, you can just merge the faces into a single face and send that to your client and get rid of all the face information, but it's up to you. It's up to what the client demands from you. And so, any question about faces and design options? Let's look at a little bit about schedules. Schedules can be phase specific and option specific. So for example, let's try to create a schedule of doors in phase 1. It's fairly simple. You go to the View tab, Schedule of Quantities. I'm going to create a schedule of doors. And here is the phase. Here's where you filter the phase. You want the doors that are existing or the doors that are part of phase 1. This is the active phase of the schedule. So in schedules, you can apply phases and you can also apply phase filters. So you can show previous and new, and you're going to have a schedule of existing and new doors. So let's do, let's go to phase one. And so hit OK. In the schedule properties, I'm not going to go too crazy. So just pick a door width, height, width, height, mark number, mark. Yeah, let's keep it simple. And hit OK. So doors also display phase filter and phases. So this is phase one, and it says show complete. And what that means is showing both existing and new are part of this. You want to display existing and, for example, if you want to display the demo doors, or the new and demo, previous and demo, you can show previous and demo. And this is a list of the door, all the existing doors, and the doors that are being demolished. You can, if you show new, this is just the 2 new doors that were added on phase one. Does that make sense? You can also make it design option specific. So if you want to show the new doors that were added on option 2 on phase 2. So you pick phase 2, show new, and in the visibility graphic overrides, you go to the design options and pick option 2. And so this is the list of doors that were added on phase 2 in option 2. So doors schedules respond to phases and design options. Any question?
How do you add columns to your door schedule if you wanted to be more specific?
Add columns? Oh, add
Yeah,
more,
I mean,
more parameters.
yeah, how do you go back to, oh, okay, there you go. I see.
Go to the fields, and here you can add like frame type, frame.
Okay, I see.
Material, panel material.
So can you add the phase here? Yeah, phase demolished. I see.
Yeah. Family type.
Cool.
Oh, here is phase created. Yeah, phase
Yeah.
created.
Uh-huh.
Also, if you didn't know, on doors, you can also add room information, like what room is opening into and where room is coming from. That can be added part of the schedules. You can also include elements in links. Okay, what else? The same thing applies to 3D views. 3D views can be made phase and option specific. So I'm going to create a 3D view using the little house icon. I'm going to switch this to shaded so that it displays some color. This 3D view is showing the existing elements. But you can make it, let's say I want to display option 2. So phase 2, show previous and new. And if you want to make it option specific, you go to visibility graphic. Design option 2. And this should be option 2. I want to make, I could make it differently. If you want to show option 1, then just go to, again, visibility graphics. Design options, option 1. And hit OK. This is option 1. Different layout. Or if you want to display phase 1, phase 1 doesn't have options. This is phase 1, retrofit, or show the existing. This is the existing one. And for a contractor, it's visually more compelling maybe to look at things in 3D. But
I have a question.
mhm.
Is it possible to see like both phase 1 and phase 2, or option 1 and option 2 in phase 2 to see the difference?
I mean, in the sheet, you can place it side by side. But in a single view, they will be overlay on top of each other. You cannot do that because views can only display one option at a time. You cannot combine two options at the same, two options under the same set. You might be able to create like two different option sets and then display the primary on both of them. So in other words, in here, instead of having the two options under the same set, you can create another option here. And then you can display option 1 of set 1, option 1 set 2, and they can be on top of each other. Yes, you can do that. But two options under the same set cannot be displayed simultaneously. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Oh, one more thing. Elevations and sections, they can also be made option specific and phase specific. Let's say this is option 1 and you want a section here. So I create a section through this, through the things. When I open it, this section, in order to make sure this is option 2, phase 2, same thing, go to the phase 2, and then on the visibility graphics, you can choose to display from the phase options. This is the section. If this was cutting option 1, the primary one, and this is option 2. And you can do this with interior elevations and large plan views, details that are specific to design options, ceiling also, and perspective views or camera views, and renderings. You can create a render that is option 1, render option 2. I'm going to open, just to close. This is a project that I did for my parents back in El Salvador, and I was having fun with the design options. I wanted to use this file for doing a demonstration inside Autodesk. And it's a single residential house with a bunch of design options that reflect different interior finishes and interior mood boards. It's on the cloud. It was very elaborated and very detailed. But the beauty of this is you didn't have to have, especially if you do interiors, like you don't have to display multiple models in order to have multiple interior design configurations. So this is a small house with one type of interior layouts to apply a different design option. These are all the design options I have here. This is a option V, I think. Oh, it's not here. This is my bad. All right, it's in visibility graphics. So you go visibility graphics here, VG. These are the design options. And there's a design option for level 1 and level 2. So on level 1, this is different personas. Like this is an interior design for a couple without kids, for a family with kids, or another option for families. Another one for I think this was for a single person. And so this shows you, the power of design options. You can have multiple interior design configurations. You can render within the same space, and you don't have to have different. I mean, the core of this house remained the same across the design options. The structural walls, the demise walls are all common, and what changes is just the furniture layouts. All right, so any question about design options and phasing? Let me finish by highlighting some of the limitation of design options. Rooms don't travel across design options. Levels. Keep levels always in the main model. Don't mix levels across faces. It's bad idea. Things start getting messy. You can apply design option to views via visibility graphics. Annotations are view specifics. They don't travel in design options. Area schemes, I don't know if you're familiar with area schemes. But area schemes don't have design options enabled to them. That's a limitation. Area scheme is used for, we're going to talk about that next class, a week from Tuesday. Elements that depend on another must be in the same design options. For example, a wall and a door, they need to be in the same design options. I think this makes sense, right? A skylight and a roof, they need to be in the same design option. Mullions and curtain walls, reveals and walls, etc. The wall joints. Oh, this is a good one. Wall joints are going to clean up nicely between the main model and the primary options. I think I mentioned this. They won't clean nicely with secondary options. And the work sets. All design options are moved into a work set called project standards and design option work sets. I don't have a central file to show you this. Or maybe I do, yeah. Yeah, this is a central file. So if I go to manage work sets, no, collaborate work sets, in the work set dialog box, I don't know what all my dialog boxes are showing above. You probably, I don't know if you're familiar with these project standards here. This is a checkbox of work sets, and this lists design options here. Design options. So technically, if you want to like unload design options from showing in your project, you can just close this, change it from open to no, and then anything that is in design option is temporary. It's going to be unloaded from the project. It's not going to impact your performance. This is particularly useful when design options are heavy. You have a lot of them in a project, yet you don't want to delete them. And so if you close the work set of design options, the memory used by Revit to refresh those is going to be available to you, and it's going to be easier to manipulate them. So
Do you still see the primary option, or
No.
they all go away?
they all go away. Yeah. This is, if you're like working in one side of the building and the design options are like slowing you down, you can close the design options work sets and expedite the refresh of the model. And that applies to all of this. There's a lot of families that you can switch off via project standards. Not a lot of people use them, and not a lot
How
of
do
people
you
know them.
how do you know if that's been done? Does that show up when you? I mean, if somebody did that and you can't figure out why you can't find it, how do you know that this has been done in the work set?
Um,
Does it
That's-
show up if you hit that light bulb, like as something hidden, or?
No, these are word sets, and so word sets, you have to enable all these checkboxes and see anything that says no. But the other thing is that when you save a file, a central file, always create a central file with the option that says you can open all work sets. You have that option. When you open a central file, you can specify how the work sets are loaded. Let me show you here. I'm going to close this file. I'm not going to save it. And this particular file, it's the MIM Collaborate Pro. So the process of opening, it's a little different. But in MIM Collaborate Pro, when you are on Docs, but the same, and you open a file, you can say specify. And when you specify, it opens the workspace dialog box, and then you can selectively close the workspace that you don't want to be open. Or when you says all, it opens all the workspaces on. So you can choose to open the central file with all the worksets on, or be selective about it. If you specify it, then you pick and choose which worksets are enabled on and which are off. But to your question, if you want to open all, just click here all, and it will open all the file with all the offset, with all the worksets on. Okay, it's 7:20. I'm a few minutes past my lecture time. If anyone wants to stay, feel free to do so. I'm going to stop the broadcast right now.